Hey guys, thanks for tuning in today. Today we are making firecracker chicken with apple coleslaw and cornbread. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our firecracker sauce. Actually, we can put our chicken in the oven for 10 minutes while we get our sauce going. I just got some chicken drums here. I went ahead and mixed my teaspoon of onion powder, garlic powder, salt and pepper together. I'm just going to sprinkle it over top of the chicken. That'll give it a little base layer of flavor. You'll have a little bit of this left over, so you can, put it on chicken breast, sprinkle it on hamburgers. It'll be great on lots of stuff. I also want to flip this over real quick and get the other side of it as well, because we want to season all of the chicken so we get a nice flavorful bite no matter what side we get. I'm going to go ahead and throw that in the oven for about 10 minutes. By that time, our sauce should be ready to go, so we can start basting our sauce. I got my oven preheated to 400 degrees. So we're going to let that go for 10 minutes. And then here on the stove, I have my half cup of hot sauce already in the pan. I'm going to add a half cup of brown sugar. And then what's nice about this recipe is, since we're going to kind of taste it before we put it on the chicken, if it's too spicy, you can always add a little more brown sugar to it to kind of cut the spiciness of the sauce. Got a tablespoon of butter, because butter makes everything better. We won't use that one, we'll use this tablespoon, because that butter makes everything better. And we need 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And then we will be all set for our sauce. 1, 2. I'm going to turn that down to about medium low and let it go for a second. That way the butter can kind of melt, the brown sugar can dissolve into the hot sauce as well. Now we're going to get our cornbread ready. This is a nice kind of easy one bowl thing where you can dump everything in one bowl, mix it up, and be all set. I got a cup of flour here. Got a cup of brown sugar, or not brown sugar, cornmeal. I always want to double check my recipe here, because when you bake, you kind of want to be precise, so that way you don't mess it up. You need a half cup of white sugar. That way it's nice and sweet like me. 1 egg. That way it's nice and excellent. A teaspoon of salt. There's my salt shaker. And what's great about the hot sauce is, while it cooks, it'll open up your pores pretty quickly if you stand over it too long. Whew. I got a good whiff of that, and it's pretty good. So we just need a half cup of buttermilk now. There's my half cup. If you don't have buttermilk, you can easily do regular milk or coconut milk or whatever milk substitute you use for this, and it'll turn out just fine. And then a 1/3 cup of vegetable oil. And then you need 1 can of creamed corn. That while I was shopping, I realized, or a second ago while I realized I was getting everything ready after shopping, I bought 1 can of creamed corn to make my demo batch with, but didn't get a second one to add in here. But you just gotta open the can, dump it in, mix it up, and it'll be fine. So we got everything in here. Just going to mix this up. I might need to add just a touch more milk to this, just to kind of help with the liquid that you would get from the cream corn. So don't pay attention to that. If I do, your recipe will be right for the cornbread. Yeah, I want to add a little more buttermilk to this, just so it's moist. This is getting a little too dry. Let's get this mixed up. I'm gonna add just a splash more, just a little dry still. Like I said, that can of cream corn adds, you know, extra moisture, extra corniness, like my bad jokes, and a lot of flavor. So our cornbread's just about done. Works good if you don't splash on your hands as well. I'm going to grease a pan real quick, pour it in there, and then we'll bake it for 20-25 minutes at 400 degrees, and then it will be ready to go. So I got some cooking spray here. Pan is ready. Let's go and add this to our pan here. Then we'll just spread this about, making sure we get every corner filled. And we'll put this in the oven for 20-25 minutes at 400 degrees. So our chicken and our cornbread in the same temperature, so that way we don't have to have, you know, 2 different cook times, so we can put them in at the same time. So we'll throw this guy in and we'll be all good. Move this stuff out of the way so I can start chopping and show you guys a couple other things. Alright, so now we got all the fun stuff we need cut up and mix for our coleslaw. We need to chop up 2 cloves of garlic real quick for our sauce. So it's going to give this a quick rough chop. Then we add it right to the pot with our hot sauce and everything. That's just going to give us some more flavor. Mix that in, and I'll be ready to go in a second. So I got a nice big bowl here. We're going to make our coleslaw now. So they gave me baby heads of cabbage. Hopefully we make this, you'll have a bigger head, so that way it's a little easier to chop and everything. So we're just going to basically chiffonade this, or chop it really fine. And chiffonage just means thin ribbons. So we're just basically cutting nice thin strips of cabbage here for our coleslaw. And we'll add it to our bowl. You can cheat if you do this at home, and they always have the coleslaw mix in the bags, so you can do that and then kind of add your own dressing and doctor it up a little bit. So we're putting thinly sliced green apples in this one, so that way we get a little more crunch, a little more tartness, and some nice flavor from it. So that's just a pour. We'll take this, add it to our bowl. If you want smaller pieces of coleslaw, you can chop it up finer. I'm okay with a little bit of big pieces. I'm gonna take my purple guy here, cut him in half, excuse me, and then just start finally chopping him as well. So now we're going to have nice colorful coleslaw, because you always eat with your eyes before you eat with your mouth. because you know the more colors there are, the more attractive you are to it, and actually the more nutrient it is for you too. So we're just getting the coleslaw nice and chopped. You can kind of see the core, so we're just kind of chopping to the core so we get the most out of our cabbage. And we throw that core away. Take our green cabbage, add it to the bowl. And then we take some parsley. We need about 2 tablespoons of parsley. This is going to add a little brightness, you know, that nice little fresh herb flavor, and also, you know, another green for color contrast. And you don't need to chop that up super fine, so we're just going to kind of throw it in a little big. Got a green apple here. I'm just kind of cutting one piece off, and then you can see where the core is. So it's going to kind of turn it and cut beside the core, so I can get as much of the apple as I possibly can. And then just going to, our chicken is ready to baste now. So we're going to grab our chicken out of the oven. It started the cooking process, and we just need to baste our chicken a little bit real quick. I'm going to turn that off. One thing you want to do is save just a little bit of the sauce, so we can kind of brush it on it right at the end. So I'm just going to get rid of my spatula here. Take just a little bit of the sauce. That's probably more than enough. So you want to take like 1/4 of the sauce and save it. And just going to take it and brush our chicken legs. This already smells great. You can smell the hot sauce. You know, the garlic's going to give it more flavor too. The brown sugar kind of helps balance the hot or the heat. And like we did with the other seasoning, you want to flip this so that way you get every side nice and coated with flavor. I'm dropping everything today. So we got our chicken flipped. Just going to brush that with sauce. Make sure to get every side. And the reason we save that last little bit is we're going to use that last little bit to kind of glaze at the end. And you don't want to you don't want to finish using this brush to glaze it, because that's cross-contamination with raw chicken, because this isn't completely cooked yet. So, you know, we're going to keep basting it, but it's going to keep cooking. This one, when it's done, we'll use that to kind of glaze over right at the end. So that way it's chicken free and ready to go. So we're going to put this back in the oven for another 10 minutes. I'm going to set my little owl here for another 10 minutes so I know who's watching it. And we're just going to thinly slice our apple up now. And if you don't want to slice the apple, you can always just use a box grater and grate your apple up and do it that way. So we got one apple done, or one part of the apple done. If you have a mandolin, this is something you can easily do on there. Just be careful and use the guard, because you don't want to chop your finger off. Because while we want nice and colorful food, we don't want red added to it. Our apple's just about cut up all the way. And if you want smaller pieces before you slice your apple slices out, you can take the piece and kind of cut that in half lengthwise. And then as you cut it this way, you'll have smaller pieces of apple in your coleslaw. That's kind of, you know, personal preference of how you like to cut things up. That's looking pretty good to me. I'm gonna add a little bit of shredded carrots. I always cheat and buy the pre-shredded stuff, so that way it saves you a little bit of time. We'll add a little bit of that to it. And then that's ready to go. So you make our sauce real quick. So I need to grab a bowl that I forgot to get. All right, so we got a bowl for our dressing, and we just need a 1/2 cup of mayonnaise and 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt. This way you kind of lighten it up, make it look healthy by using the Greek yogurt, and you don't lose any of that creaminess. So we got about 1/2 cup of mayo here, and then a 1/2 cup of plain Greek yogurt. If you get the flavored kind, it might be a little weird, but the plain one works just fine. Spatula. So I just need to give this a stir. And then a 1/2 cup of this. And we'll be most of the way there for our coleslaw dressing. And then we just need to add a little bit of apple cider vinegar. Move stuff around on myself too much. So we got 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And then we got 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard. And I just need 4 teaspoons of salt and pepper in this for a little seasoning. And now we'll have our coleslaw dressing. I didn't add any sugar to this because we get some sweetness from the apple, and I don't really like adding sugar to our coleslaw dressing. You know, you're eating vegetables for, you know, the little bit of nutrients that they got. I know there's not a whole lot in cabbage, but you're eating it for the nutrients, not for the sugar you can have with it. So we're going to take our slaw dressing. I'll always kind of leave a little bit out whenever I add it, so that way I can toss it first. And then if it's not enough dressing, you can always add a little bit more. But if you add too much, you can't really take it out. So we're getting this nice and tossed up. And I think I added just about the right amount. Because I also had, you know, smaller heads of cabbage, so I probably didn't get as much cabbage as I would have with regular pieces. So that way, you know, the dressing would work better for the bigger heads versus, you know, smaller ones for the right amount. So our dressing, or our coleslaw is ready to go. Our cornbread's in the oven, and our chicken's in the oven. We just need a, you know, I think we got about 4 more timer beeps for our chicken to baste it every time. So we're kind of going to just fast forward until it's ready to go, because it's basically just pulling the chicken out, basting it, putting it back in the oven. So we'll see you guys in a second. Alright, so our chicken is finally done cooking, so we're going to go ahead and grab it out of the oven. Our cornbread was done too, so we pulled that out. So now we're kind of ready to plate up and eat, so I'm going to go get the chicken. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to just get my tongs and kind of just turn it in this last little bit of sauce here, because that's going to be some nice extra flavor. sometimes the chicken will stick to the pan a little bit, so kind of rip. I had that happen with this one. That'll be all right. That's the one you kind of eat yourself. So this is ready to go. Just going to take a little piece of cornbread here. We'll put that right on our plate. Pop it out. The first piece is always the hardest to get out, but it's looking pretty good. You can see this is one that had the cream corn in it. You can see the little flecks of corn in there. It's nice and moist, kind of squishy. It's going to be great. So I'm going to take that, a little bit of our apple coleslaw here, kind of just put that on the plate. Just a little more. And we can gotta take the last bit of our sauce and kind of drizzle it over. So that way we get the last little bit of flavor on there. We'll take 2 chicken legs. And if there's any of the sauce left, you can take it and kind of just drizzle around everything. Just kind of make it look a little pretty. And there we have firecracker chicken with apple coleslaw and cornbread. Hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.